Welcome to the e-production of avtlibrary.com, where we offer e-library of e-audio, e-video, and e-text. The New World Order, The Rise of the Global South and De-Dollarization. Javaid Rashid. February 3, 2024. On February 24, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine in an escalation of the Russo-Ukrainian War that started in 2014. The invasion became the most significant attack on a European country since World War II. The US and the EU responded by putting financial sanctions on Russia and debarred Russia from the SWIFT financial system. I wrote on March 4, 2022, in my essay, De-Dollarization, China-Russia New World Order, that the sanctions on Russia will prove to be a blessing in disguise for both China and Russia because it will result in a leapfrog towards de-dollarization. The genesis of the BRICS alliance and development of a new global currency. The BRICS nations, comprised of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are looking to establish a new currency for trade and reserve money backed by a basket of their respective currencies. The term was initially created as BRIC, without South Africa, by Goldman Sachs economist Jim O'Neill in 2001. BRICS was an analytical grouping of emerging market countries that experienced strong economic growth and were poised to dominate the world economy by 2050. These countries now operate as informal organizations that seek to further economic ties with each other. While still under review and development, the potential currency would allow these nations to assert their economic independence while competing with the existing international financial system. The current financial structure system is dominated by the US dollar, which accounts for about 90% of all currency trading and nearly 100% of oil trading. The BRICS nations have many reasons for wanting to set up a new currency. Recent global financial challenges and aggressive US foreign policies have prompted the BRICS countries to explore the possibility. They want to serve their economic interests better while reducing global dependence on the US dollar and the euro. Central to this ongoing setting is the U.S. trade war with China and U.S. sanctions on China and Russia. Should the BRICS nations establish a new reserve currency, it would significantly impact the U.S. dollar, potentially leading to a decline in demand. In turn, this would have implications for the U.S. and global economies. 15th BRICS meeting in August 2023. The Ukraine war accelerated the efforts of China and Russia to create an alternative financial system, a different option for cross-border trade, and a new reserve currency for all countries worldwide. In July 2023, South Africa's BRICS ambassador, Anil Suklal, announced that 40 countries expressed interest in joining BRICS. The following month, the August summit, 22-24th in Johannesburg, 54 countries attended the BRICS meeting, and 6 countries were invited to adopt BRICS membership. Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates officially joined the alliance on January 1, 2024. BRICS. Controlling 30% of the world economy, it is big, it is real. With the addition of 6 new members, BRICS now has 30% of the world economy within its collaboration, with a combined GDP of $30.76 trillion US dollars. It also constitutes 40% of the world's population. The summit leaders emphasized the necessity of expanding trade and investment among the BRICS member states and strengthening their relations. By 2050, leaders at the summit hope to account for 50% of the world's GDP, which will fundamentally change the economic landscape. Currently, the GDP of 10 BRICS member countries far exceeds the GDP of the G7 nations. New Development Bank as an alternative to the World Bank and IMF. The New Development Bank, formerly the BRICS Development Bank, is a multilateral development bank established by the BRICS states. According to the agreement on the NDB, the bank shall support public or private projects through loans, guarantees, equity participation, and other financial instruments. The New Development Bank, NDB, is a multilateral development bank established by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, BRICS, to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in emerging markets and developed countries, EMDCs. The Rise of the Global South, The global north implies the developed economies, the United States, Canada, England, nations of the European Union, as well as Singapore, Japan, South Korea, and even some countries in the Southern Hemisphere, Australia and New Zealand. The global south denotes the developing economies. 4 broad indicators distinguish global north economies from global south economies. These include politics, technology, wealth, and demography. Its prospective members range from Barbados to Bhutan, Malawi to Malaysia, Pakistan to Peru, and Senegal to Syria. The group surrounds major emerging powers, including aspirants to UN Security Council seats such as Brazil, India, and Nigeria, and small states like Benin, Fiji, and Oman. China-Russia hegemony. Across the entire Indian Ocean, with the rise of the South, 149 countries of the world have already joined Chinese BRI. India needs to gain more strategic thinking and historically suffers from an elated sense of self. India will continue to be lost as long as it views China as its rival. There is no comparison between India and China in terms of the size of the economy. $3 trillion versus $21 trillion, 4% of the world's manufactured goods and products versus 30% in technology, and military might, China being the primary producer of arms and ammunition versus India, being dependent on others, buys 70 to 80% of its arms supply and the reach and influence on world politics and diplomacy. India remains at least 1 generation behind China in all these respects. Last month, the Maldives asked India to withdraw its troops by March 15, 2024. In the south, only 2 countries still need to join BRI, India and Bhutan. I believe Bhutan will also join BRI shortly, and India will become irrelevant. With all the major oil-rich Middle Eastern countries joining BRICS and Russia already on board with China, it will bring 3,000 nautical miles from the Strait of Malacca to Hormuz under Chinese control. That is the rise of the global south, because almost 90,000 vessels carrying 9.84 billion tons of cargo every year travel through the Indian Ocean and move through its choke points for destinations in Africa, Asia, and Europe. The Indian Ocean matters today, arguably more than ever. It is a major conduit for international trade, especially energy. Its littoral is vast, densely populated, and comprises some of the world's fastest-growing regions. The ocean is also a valuable source of fishing and mineral resources. All major global gas suppliers, importers, and exporters have joined BRICS. New BRICS currency and de-dollarization. In finding alternatives to the dollar, BRICS is likely to push for the greater use of local currencies. We know that 80% of the trade between Russia and China is settled in Russian rubles or Chinese yuan. Russia is also trading with India in Indian rupees. About a year and a half ago, KSA signed a memorandum with China to settle 30% of oil trade in the Chinese yuan. The American dollar is not going to be replaced in 10, 20 years. Instead, it will be displaced gradually over 1 generation of the time lapse. There would be more and more trade of goods and services and oil between countries with local currencies, and the yuan would assume more of a share as the reserve currency for nations across the globe. Chinese yuan is the 4th currency of the world. China's currency was used more than Japan's for international payments in November 2023 for the first time since January 2022, capturing the 4th largest share. China's yuan rose to 4th most used currency in global settlements. The data comes from the SWIFT International Payment Service. The use of the yuan for oil and other transactions with Russia is increasing due to sanctions from the West in the wake of its invasion of Ukraine. This is an e-production of avtlibrary.com, where our e-library brings you a rich collection of e-audio, e-video, and e-text. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.